Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our preview for Only Murders in the Building, Season 3, Episode 9. This episode is titled 30. It is the penultimate episode of the season. I
Oh,
I
I
know.
can't believe how quickly this season has gone by. I've been waiting and waiting for it to
Yeah.
come back. Like, it is just a blink and it's gone. I cannot believe we have 2 episodes left. That is it.
These episodes better be jam-packed. And I think for me, the big question coming into Episode 9 is pretty simply this. Do we actually know anything about one or both of these potential murderers if there are both? Because there's a pretty strong case that, oh, Dickie is one of them based clearly on what we saw in episode 8. But based on both this show's propensity to throw twists at us and what we're looking at in the synopsis for this episode, I still have my doubts, and this may just be Hulu messing with us, but I still am concerned that we might be right back at square one.
We very well might be. I mean, it's hard to know with this show. This show really does love to throw a lot of things out there to confuse all of us, which is part of the fun.
Okay, so before we do go any further here, be sure to join our Patreon. If you guys want live streams all about Only Murders in the Building,
Mhm.
we have you covered every week. In particular, on Tuesday, October the 3rd, which is going to be right after the finale for this season drops on Hulu, we are going to do a live stream that day talking all about the finale. Maybe we'll have a cliffhanger that sets up season 4 that we can dive into, but it is going to be a very, very fun stream that we want you guys to be a part of.
Oh, absolutely. We've been talking only murders every week over there. We have weekly live streams. It's been so fun. Okay, talking about
Yeah.
cliffhangers quickly here. So
Yeah.
we're going into episode 9 now. Now, I'm sure you guys have all seen those pictures that were floating around before the season of Mabel in a wedding dress.
Yeah.
Where is that? And I'm sort of circling it right now because I've seen some of you guys in the comments talking about it. I've been thinking about it as
Yeah.
well of like she's with Tauber, but she hasn't been with him that long. It's been like what, 4 weeks or
Yeah.
something like that since she was like, "Oh, I'm getting kicked out of my aunt's place,"
Yeah.
and around when she met him. So it's been a pretty short relationship, which makes sense of why she's probably staying with Theo. They've been friends a long time. She wants to stay in the Arconia. She's not that far along with Taubert. So who is she marrying? And is she marrying someone? Is this a dream sequence or whatever? My tinfoil hat, and I've seen other people have
Yeah.
this tinfoil hat too, is that this scene is going to be the cliffhanger at the end of this season. That we're going to have a little bit of a time jump where either she's, if Toppert's not the murderer, maybe she's going to be marrying him, maybe she's going to be marrying Theo, and somebody is going to die at her wedding. And that will be the setup for season 4.
I swear we did not talk about this before coming on the video because I had the same exact thought.
Right? I was just like,
yeah,
where is this? Like, why haven't we had this yet?
I think it's
Where's the wedding dress?
it's either gonna be it's either a situation where it is okay a dream sequence or something like that.
God,
But
I hope not.
no, I think the idea of it being a cliffhanger setting up the next season is all the more interesting. And it's important to note that when this all first came out that Selena was in a wedding dress, I believe it was just with like people snapping photos or something like that in New York. So I don't necessarily think it was something that the producers wanted or needed to get out at that point. The idea of there being a murder at a wedding is always fun. It always makes for great drama. Granted, this is also season 2 of the After Party, which I literally just watched. But
Well, and I mean, if she is marrying somebody and it turns out to be Theo, who's
yeah,
somebody that a lot of us have been wanting to see them together
yeah,
since season 1, and she is staying with him right now. And it's nothing against, Robert Tauber, but I
yeah.
think he's a killer. So, like, I don't want her marrying a killer if that's where
No,
they're going with this. But I mean, it would make sense then that she might want to actually have the ceremony at the Arconia.
yeah, it really, really would, and it's a way to get everybody in the Arconia together, and I
Mhm.
think that's the important setup for whatever next season is going to be, if it's this wedding, if it's something else. You want a lot of your familiar faces to matter, and that's what they've been so smart with so far.
Yeah.
Now, moving into episode 9 in particular, I'll read the synopsis here because there's something about it that I think is really interesting.
Okay.
The trio have amassed a plethora, and then it has in parentheses, oh yes, a plethora of clues, suspects, and theories, but find no concrete answers about Ben's murder.
Mhm.
They devise a peculiar method of throwing themselves into the actual case to recreate the final moments of Ben's life.
Mhm.
Now, how do they not have any concrete answers about Ben's murder? Why are they even supposedly thinking this? Because just based on the idea of Loretta doing what Loretta just did, and also everything that they have suspected about Dickie.
And the letter.
Yeah, like, isn't that pretty concrete that if nothing else, Dickie should be like number one suspect a million miles ahead of everybody?
A million miles ahead. At that point, they should really be. They've got the scrapbook, they've got the
Yeah.
letter going through Loretta's bag, they've got Loretta being like, I did it, right in the middle, sort of singing about being a mom, like, watching the police come in to go towards Dickie. It's not concrete. Nothing is really
Yeah.
concrete unless you're actually having some sort of DNA proof or something. But it's as close to concrete as you're getting.
This is why my own tinfoil hat entering this episode is there something that happens at the very start of this that sort of disproves that Dickie is the killer, where it's like he has a really good alibi for what happened at the elevator shaft? If there's some other evidence that comes forward, or maybe this is Hulu just trying to mislead us based on when this synopsis was written, and we really shouldn't read too much into it one way or another. Like, we went through a lot of that in the review, where it's just like it doesn't feel like there's a lot of other possibilities beyond Dickie, especially with what Dickie said about how he couldn't take it anymore when it comes to dealing with Ben.
Yeah, I mean, yes, there's Donna and Cliff. We've seen the comments
Yeah.
with you guys that there's a lot of people that think that. There's a lot of people that think that basically this season is just the producers being regurgitated onto Only Murders. And for me personally, put on your hard hat.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be happy with that. And while they have had Nathan Lane on the show, Matthew Broderick this season, Mel Brooks, all this, it makes sense that there would be those connections of like, oh, two producers trying to put together, the crappiest play that they can. And that's sort of the theme, right? But that's not 100% what's going on here. I mean, at least if you believe what Cliff has been saying in the small amount of time that we've had with him, he truly wants this play to do well. He's not there trying to get it to be bad. Now, is it Donna that's trying to get it to be bad? I don't know. Personally, I don't want to see the show just regurgitate somebody else's work and do a retelling of that, because this show is its own thing. They don't need to pay homage to the producers every step of the way. Like, it doesn't need to just be a retelling of something we've already seen.
Yeah, and I don't think it will be. And this is why I regrettably have jumped off the Cliff train a little bit, just because there's no clear motive. And I would love and or be embarrassed if Cliff is the killer, because I've kind of jumped ship on it. But it's just, we need to have some sort of understanding as to why it's happening. And there hasn't been any understanding of that yet. Same goes with Donna. If there is some sort of evidence or motive, maybe it's going to come up, because
yeah, I mean, people have been saying in the comments, Donna's wearing a wig. It looked like she was throwing up. Maybe she's sick, and instead of going to the Hamptons, she's getting some sort of help with something. But again, then what is the motivation to, kill Ben, kill this play? How is that setting Cliff up for any kind of success? Like, I don't really, for me, I don't see it.
Well, let's get into the second part of the synopsis here, because I think this is where things may get even more fascinating, especially for you and your Robert Taubert theories. So here's what I think is going to happen. They're going to reenact the final moments of Ben's life, which means, at least to me, that they're going to pretend to be various people on stage at the center of, the Loretta Ben Charles argument. And first of all, this is going to be wonderful. I love reenactments in just about every sense or form on shows like this. But I think what's going to be really valuable through this is they're going to be able to kind of flash back to those moments and recount, okay, here was where Charles, was at this moment. Here's where Ben was. Who was around me? What were they doing? What direction was Ben going when Ben left the stage? Was Ben heading over to KT's office? Was he going back to the dressing room? And I think in jogging their memory, they will be able to say, okay, because Kimber, for example, was over here, Kimber could not be over in Ben's dressing room. Now, who is the person that we aren't really accounting for because they're not in the play and we don't really had to have been paying attention to them at that particular moment? Taubert.
Like, this is what's been the most, I guess, frustrating about this season is Robert Taubert is the documentarian. He has the footage. I mean, we started the first meet with him and Mabel where he was looking for footage for whatever smokescreen he was trying to sell her, and she bought it. But just the same, everybody knows. Everybody. Oliver had to have okayed this when Ben was like, hey, besides doing the play, I'm also doing this documentary at the same time, and Taubert's like, hey, I'm not here, sort of thing. Just pretend I'm not here. But everybody knows that you are here. You have a camera in everybody's face. You're covering everything. Mabel, Oliver, Charles, they all know he's there. I mean, Mabel especially, she's dating him. She knows he has lots of footage. After it came out that there was this fight and, Charles punched him and whatever, why has nobody gone to Taubert to be like, we need the footage of that? You clearly would be there. It's opening night. You're the person who's doing the documentary. You would have filmed this. So where is the footage?
Okay, everybody, I'm about to hit the curb on everything. So go ahead
here
and
we
be
go.
prepared.
Okay, I'm ready.
I still feel like I feel like your theory about Taubert and Dickie is probably correct. It's the thing that fundamentally makes the most sense at this point.
I'd love to have a W after my big L last season.
I think you're
probably Charles's dad back from the dead.
There's a very clear motive that Taubert would do this. He wants to be very successful. The documentary is way more interesting if Ben either dies or has a near-death experience. Now, this is where I start to drive myself absolutely crazy with this season and why I may be in the same place as some of the trio, just utterly lost. Because, there's been comments that have said, okay, is the Taubert reveal too similar to season 1, where it's like, okay, one of the trio is romantically involved with somebody who is the killer. And then I start to think a little bit about Dickie, and it's like, oh, here's someone who has a past that's not exactly what either he or Loretta must have thought. And then there's similarities that come in with Poppy. I don't think they're as explicit as what we have, with Taubert in season 1, but there's a couple of elements there. Like, is all of this just the producers tricking us in this big elaborate way where if they're going to reveal something that is totally different than any other season, any other show, any references to the producers or anything else, then what the bleep is it? Because there's no one else. Like, are you going to pull Bobo out of thin air? Are you going to pull KT out of thin air? This is the biggest, I think, tightrope act that the show has done in its history, where you can go the somewhat either just written in element of, okay, have it be Loretta, have it be Dickie, have it be somebody who actually makes sense, or are you going to go so far out of left field, which would be exciting, but also may not make any sense at all?
Here's the thing is, last season, even first season, by episode 8, it was pretty clear who the killer was, or at least people who were involved. I mean, everything that had come out last season with Krebs came out in this past episode as well. So the idea that it could come out that Dickie is the killer, it still hasn't come out that there might be more than one. Like,
Yeah.
so there's still more reveals to come, like they kind of did last season, where it was like, oh, Krebs is involved. He's very clearly glitter guy. Oh my goodness, is he the killer? No, there's also Poppy going on. He hasn't actually really done anything. And uh, I don't think they're going to go in that way. I think that Dickie's hands are dirty. I think there's no reason for him to have bought that hanky with DNA evidence on it, because he didn't know that Loretta was his mom. So he knows something. It's a very specific thing to buy.
Yeah.
And he knew it was, I think he knew it was on his brother's dead body, and that's why he bought it. So he's either covering up guilt or he's covering up to help somebody. And if it's not Loretta, then who's he helping? Himself. He's involved.
I think ultimately maybe the twist and maybe the trio being at a loss here is just based on the idea that it seems clear that Dickie may be the second murderer, but they don't know anything about the first. And I think based on what Dickie has said already, it feels pretty clear that he's not responsible for what happened opening night of the play, because he was anticipating working with him again the next day.
Yeah, and he very specifically got that hanky. So if he's the person who pushed him, he needs to have that in his possession to be able to do something with it and get rid of it properly, because his DNA would be on that hanky as well. Okay, so here's one last tinfoil hat theory for all you Donna people out there that are like, Donna is the killer. Okay. Is it possible that she's the person who's maybe paying off Taubert? And if it's not Taubert, because he has the footage, I feel it, not necessarily of the death, but I think he's got the footage of whatever happened. When we first met up with him, he was in the apartment looking for something, but he wasn't being clear about what it was. He was definitely hiding it. What if Donna, he said he was, going on a commercial shoot. They pay pretty well. Is it possible that Donna set him up with that to be like, listen, if you just lose part of that footage, I'll set you up over here. You can have a commercial job, pays really well. Documentary stuff, it can pay okay. And, we were paying you okay here. But now, Ben's gone and you're not doing it anymore. I got a job for you over here. Just lose this footage.
Okay, I just got a new tinfoil hat theory just while you
here
were
we
talking.
Go. Okay.
It's tied in part to that. Okay, Cliff Truthers. We might be back. Prepare yourselves.
Oh,
okay.
Here we go.
What if Donna is paying Taubert, but she's paying Taubert because she knows
Cliff did it.
Yeah, and she knows that he has footage of Cliff doing it, and ultimately not only is she paying him to hide that footage, but she's also paying him to manipulate Mabel and throw Mabel off the scent in order to ensure that the truth here never comes out, because then that does tie to kind of what you said in the last review, that there might be a double meaning to what Donna told Loretta about protecting your child.
Yeah, because here's the thing that I know some people have been like, oh, it's about the insurance money. I don't think they need any money. And also they don't have to stay with the play. They can leave whenever they want. They're the money people.
Yep.
So if they decide that they want to pull their money and leave, bye. That's their choice. Producers always have all the control, so they can kind of do whatever they want. Here's the possible motivation. Okay, so Donna wants her son to take over and be this, big successful producer. If she's sick or she's retiring, whatever it is, that she really wants Cliff to be able to step in and go forward with this. When the play starts, the play is a stinker. It's not doing very well. Maxine's like, oh, no, not doing well, not great, not anything. And maybe Donna's motivation then is like, maybe the problem is Ben, and instead of just firing him because we don't want that scandal around the play where it's like, oh, the biggest star of the play gets fired by Donna for why, right? So instead she's like, you know what? I need this play to be successful. It's not doing well. Ben's the stinker of it. Let's just kill him off. And then maybe the play can come together in another way. And it does. And then it starts to become successful. And, Oliver comes up with this idea to make it a musical. It's going really well. It looks like it's going to bring in some money. Everybody happy. There's the motive, Donna, people. I'm starting to convince myself that maybe it's Donna.
in the span of this 20-minute video, I have gone from jumping
What a
complete.
ride.
I was so off of cliff, and now I'm just like, we're back, everybody. Get your-
Yeah, well now I'm not necessarily that it's Cliff, but
No.
I can see why it can be
Yeah,
Donna.
this-
Now I've come up with a motive that makes sense to me.
Let's just pat ourselves on the back for this. Look at us.
What? I'm not. No. Well, I could. Do we have to go over the Charles's dad is
No.
the murderer thing again? I took an L.
Hey, we might still take an L, but you know what?
I still think Taubert's really involved.
I think Taubert is really involved, but this is what makes this video so fun, guys, is that we can all piece things together and maybe figure out motives. So maybe this is why either Donna or Cliff did it, if it's not the Dickie Taubert idea, which is still probably the most likely one.
I just don't. I've said this the whole time. I still stand on. I do not want another female murderer. It's not just. This is not women who kill, and every single season needs to be some woman that's killing everybody. It's just. It's been done. Like, let's get somewhere else here.
Well, we hopefully we'll get some evidence moving into this next episode. Where is it? Taubert? Is it Cliff? Is it Dickie? Is it some combination?
Is it Donna?
Oh boy, I hope it's not. I hope it's not Donna for the exact reason you just said.
Yeah.
Well, be sure to join our Patreon. Check that link in the description, because like we said, October 3rd, after that finale, we're gonna go live to talk all about what happened. That cliffhanger. Is it the Mabel Morrow wedding? What would season 4 look like? Thank you so much to our patrons for your support, and we'll see you here next time.